Humanitarian aid organisation A Gift of the Givers has deployed teams to Mbekweni area in Paarl today to assist residents who have been affected by heavy rains in the Western Cape. Well, perhaps for more on this, we're going to be joined via Zoom by Gift of the Givers Ali Sablay for an update on how the assistance is going. Ali, good afternoon. Thank you for your time with us here on the SABC.
Thank you for having me.
Perhaps you can take us through the impact of these rains and floods in the areas that you have visited around the Western Cape as we speak.
The Western Cape, around about this time of the year, is generally prone to flooding disasters. But normally it will be like, your informal settlements. Ourselves with disaster risk management teams over the years has already identified these areas that are prone to disaster during this period. In terms of your informal settlements like Langa, Gugulethu, etc. But on Wednesday, the 14th of June, not only these informal settlements, but the whole metropole got extreme rain and many areas got flooded. Areas such as far as Rosenville, Ceres, Gouda, on the N7 along Citrusdal, Friedendal, they experienced severe rains as well, and not thousands, but tens of thousands of people were affected with the current flooding. When the rain started coming down, the calls started pouring to our Gift of the Givers team members, asking for our assistance. For the last 72 hours, our teams have been on the ground non-stop, delivering key essential aid to various communities around the Western Cape. The main concern is getting these people to a place of safety. And what the City of Cape Town and disaster management teams have done, they have opened up community halls where the elderly and the children has been accommodated.
Thank you, Ali, for that context. We understand that in some areas, like informal settlements, nothing could be salvaged. And I wonder, what do these people need to get back on their feet at this point? Also tomorrow, it looks like it's going to be heavy rains once again. So what plans have been put in place to mitigate against some of the damages that might just escalate?
The damages are going to run into the millions. Besides informal settlements, the infrastructure has been badly damaged. But for some people, it's their whole life in the structure that has been completely destroyed. One mother was explaining to us, a child was still busy writing exams, and all the study material, all the clothing, everything completely washed away. And as we know, South Africa has a big problem in terms of hunger alleviation. Many of these people saw their food washed away in front of them. Some of the people that came to the walls came with only the wet clothing they were wearing. As you said at the beginning, some of them lost their IDs and key documents. For these people, they will start their lives from over again. But how do you start your life over if you are unemployed? It's going to have to take a huge intervention from government. And in the next 24 hours, I just got off the phone with a meeting with the key players of disaster risk management teams. The weather pattern is not looking good for the days ahead. And there's going to be much more disasters in areas that were not affected, and to areas that could manage to bring their people to safety. Unfortunately, some of these areas would have to be evacuated, and people have to be once again be placed in community halls.
Ali, are you working, or perhaps have you, as you're responding to the impact of the floods at this point, have you had a chance to engage with government on some of the needs that people are going to have in terms of ID documents? Perhaps also the homes that these residents have lost. You spoke about students being impacted as they're writing exams. What's been reflected on that front going forward?
With the job meeting set up, the relevant role players of Home Affairs, Health, SASA, they are all on board. They are aware of the current situation. They are aware that urgent intervention needs to take place. Because these people will not be able to access their monthly grants without their proper ID documents, without their cards. So government is aware. We are concentrating on the humanitarian part, but listening to the conversation in the job meetings, they are activating teams to go out into these communities. And a simple solution for these informal settlements is proper housing. It's as simple as that. So with this, in some areas, example in Rosenville, some of the structures of the people got washed away completely. So hopefully with this disaster, some positivity can come out in terms of people getting answers, in terms of permanent accommodation. So in the next coming few days will be a critical period for any intervention in terms of the necessary documents. As we know, the matriculants are starting the exam shortly, and some of them IDs and everything got washed away. So to come to problems, so the education department is also getting involved to see how fast they can process the system.
Ali, just very quickly as you wrap up, obviously we've seen access to certain areas have been impacted. How are you mitigating against that? What are some of the guidelines and tips that you have to offer for those who are watching, perhaps to protect themselves, safeguard themselves as we await what's set to come in terms of tomorrow's weather patterns?
The Citrusdal has been completely cut off since Wednesday. Just now in the last hour, we have confirmed the South African National Defence Force is lending the Western Cape provincial government disaster management 1 helicopter. Provincial government is giving 2 helicopters. Tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m., Gift of the Givers will be loading these helicopters with urgent humanitarian aid to reach out to these people there. They are cut off since Wednesday. They are being placed in community halls. And we are appealing to people, if you know your area is not safe, if you know you're living in a floodline area, rather make your way to a relevant hall that's been available to assist flood victims. Do not take the chance with your family and staying at home if you know you are in danger. There is facilities being made available. Know the number of your local councillor, know the number of your nearest disaster risk management teams, or there is in your area, there's various other numbers being made available for assistance. And you know that another point is for our people living in informal settlements to take note of in the future. If you look at the area of Langa, there shouldn't have been a flood. But what has caused the flood in Langa was the overflow of the canal. And what was thrown into the canal was a whole lot of waste that caused the blockage of the drains. So we appeal to communities, when heavy rains come down and there's a blockage of a drain, you are putting other people's life in danger as well. And we saw what impact it had on the community of Langa and the neighbors Pontyville. When the canal overflowed, many homes got flooded.
Ali Sablay, thank you for your time with us here on the SABC.